Hello and welcome to Just My Cup of Crochet. In this tutorial we're going to go over learning to crochet for absolute beginners. So to start with we'll need some yarn and a hook. For this tutorial I'm using double knit yarn and a 4mm hook. If you were to use thicker yarn you would need to alter your hook size, so for example moving up to a 5mm with an Aran yarn. So to begin with we'll need to make a slip knot. To do this, we take the long length, so the length coming from the ball, and cross it over the shorter length, like this. Next, pinching the bit we've crossed, we push through and pull up a loop. There we go. So I show you this again. Take the long length, we cross it over the short length, like this. Take hold of the crossover and pull through a loop. There we go. So as you can see at the moment this loop is quite big. So we get our hook, pop our loop on and just give it a pull to alter its length. To begin with, when you first start crocheting, you will need to keep your tension quite loose, especially for the chain. So now that we have our loop on our hook, we're going to start with a chain. To chain, we yarn over, taking our yarn from the back to the front. I also find it easier to use my finger here to stabilise the loop and control it slightly that's on the hook. So when we yarn over from back to front, we use our pincher fingers here, these two or these two, and we pinch our loop. Next we're going to catch the yarn in that groove of the hook, so it's caught. I'm going to use our pincher fingers to slide that loop up. I'm going to twist the hook. So I find it, you twist it slightly, you can bring it through the teardrop. There we go. I'm going to show you. So I'll show you that again. Use this finger, stabilise the loop on the hook. We yarn over, bringing it from back over to the front. We pinch this and we catch that yarn in that groove, and then we pull through the loop like so. So stabilise with this finger, yarn over. When we yarn over, we also ensure that we keep the yarn behind the hook. Catch the yarn in the gap and twist it off. So yarn over from back to front, pinch and twist. So stabilise, we bring it from back to front, we pinch our work, we catch the yarn and we twist the hook through that hook loop. So stabilising it with our finger, we yarn over from back to front, catch the yarn in the groove of the hook and slide through. And again, stabilise, yarn over from back to front, catching that yarn, and we're going to slide that loop off. So here we go. Stabilising, yarn over from back to front, catch the yarn, slide it off. And again, stabilise, yarn over from back to front, catch the yarn, slide it off. As you can see, the yarn is always behind my hook. Yarn over from back to front, taking the yarn back, catch the yarn and slide it off. So So this is our chain. So keep practicing that until you have the desired length of chain you would like. I recommend for beginners that you don't chain more than 20, but it is always good to know how many chains you have, so that once you've done a couple of rows of double crochet, then we can go back and count, and you can see if you've picked any up or dropped any along the way. So for this demonstration, I'm going to yarn 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So to count these, I'll put this down here. So to count these, we never count the loop on our hook, which is this one here. So next, we're going to go 1 V. As you can see, they look like V's. So 1 V, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So there's 10 stitches, excluding the one on the hook, because we haven't made that into a stitch yet. So when you're happy with how to chain, take your stitches back to a maximum of 20, but try and remember how many you've got. So next I'm going to show you a double crochet. So we're going to chain one more. This is called our turning chain. So we do the same, we yarn over from back to front, we pinch our work, we catch our yarn, and we twist the loop off. So next we're going to work back along the chain that we've just made. So we don't count this one, and we're going to skip the first chain from the loop, from the hook. So that's our first chain from the hook. There you go. Let's have a look. So we're going to go into the second chain, which is this one here. So as I was showing you, this here is the first chain from the hook, and this one is our second. So we're going to get our hook and we're going to pop it in the top of that chain. So it's going to look like this. Next, we're going to yarn over again, always from back to front. So we're going to take our yarn and we're going to go from back to front, and then we're going to keep it behind our hook. Again, we're catching our yarn and we're sliding through that first loop. So we still have 2 on our hook, and we've done half the stitch. So next, using our stabilizing finger, we hold those loops, we yarn over from back to front, we catch our yarn, we pinch our work, and we slide those 2 off. So as you can see, we've now completed 1 stitch. I always think with a UK double crochet, it's good to remember that there's 2 processes. There's 2 yarning overs to a double crochet. So next we're going to go into the next part, the next chain. So you can see that in here our hook's right above it, and we've worked our yarn in that hole already, so we don't want to go in there, we want to go into the next one, which is here. Pop our hook through, we got our 2, we yarn over from back to front, keeping our yarn behind the hook, catching the yarn in the groove and sliding through. So we have 2 loops on our hook. So then we're going to stabilize those loops with our finger. We're going to yarn over from back to front. I'm going to keep the yarn behind the hook, going to catch the yarn in the groove, and we're going to slide those loops off. Okay, so we'll do that again. We'll stabilize the loop on the hook. We'll insert the hook into the next chain along. So again, not that big hole, that big gap that you've got there. It's the one next to it there. So pop the hook through your chain like so, stabilizing your stitches. We yarn over from back to front, pinch our work, catch the yarn in the groove and slide that one loop off. Next we stabilise our loops, we yarn over from back to front, keeping the yarn behind your work and your hook, and you're going to catch the yarn and slide those 2 stitches off. There we go. So we have now done 3 stitches, 3 double crochets, and you can see this by the V's. So we've got that 1V, 2V, 3 V's. So next we're going to go into our next stitch, our next chain down. So like I said, we don't go into that big hole because we've already put some yarn in that. So we're going to go to the next one, which is there. Pop our hook in the chain, stabilise with our finger. We're going to yarn over from back to front, keeping the yarn behind your hook, catch it and slide off 1. So now we have 2. We're going to stabilise with our finger again. Going to yarn over from back to front, catch the yarn and slide the 2 off. That's another stitch complete. So we're going to carry on doing this. Insert into the next stitch, yarn over, catch the yarn, take off 1 loop, yarn over, catch the yarn, take off 2 loops. We're going to the next chain in here, going to yarn over from back to front, catch the yarn, slide off 1, from back to front and slide off 2. Next we're going to go into the next chain along, just here, pop it in, yarn over, back to front, catch the yarn, slide through 1 loop, yarn over and take off the last 2. Into the next stitch, yarn over from back to front, catch the yarn, slide off 1 loop, yarn over, slide off 2 loops. Got 2 more to go, so we're going to go into the next stitch and we're going to yarn over from back to front. We're going to take off 1 loop, yarn over and we're going to take off 2. So we've got this 1 stitch left here. This can sometimes be tricky to work it out, but there's 1 stitch there. There we go. So one more time. Pop our hook in, yarn over from back to front, slide off 1 loop, yarn over and slide off 2. So there we go, we've completed our first row of double crochet. So to ensure that we've still got the 10 stitches, let's go back and count them. So to do this with double crochet, the easiest way is to turn the work. So we've just finished, we're going to tilt it forward a little bit. So here we go. So let's count from the hook. Again, we don't count what's on the hook, we count the next one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 stitches still, so that's perfect. We're going to go ahead and start on the next row. So to do this, with a UK double, we chain 1. This is our turning chain that we did down here. So let's go ahead and chain 1. So we stabilise our stitch. We yarn over from back to front, pinch our work and pull through the loop. So we've got our 1 chain there. Next we're going to turn our work like we're turning the page of a book. So we're going to flip this like this. There we go. So that's the back of our work. And we're going to work into the V's that you saw there. There are stitches. So to begin with, this is going to look like you have got an extra stitch on your hook, but it's not. So we work underneath the V. So I'm trying to show you this. So you see those holes there? You can see through to my tablecloth. So that is where your hook is going to go on each one of those stitches all the way along. So if you have a look at the front, they're your V's and that's your hole. So the first stitch We skip our turning chain because that's just to help us turn to the next row. Then we're going to pop our hook into and under, so into that hole there and under that V, so in there. So as you can see now, it looks like you've got 3 loops on your hook. You've got 1 loop and 1 stitch. So next we're going to yarn over from back to front. We're going to take off the stitch, so the complete stitch. Those 2 loops have gone. So we yarned over and we took off 1 stitch. Next we're going to yarn over from back to front, keeping the yarn as always behind our hook, and we're going to slide off those 2 loops. There we go. So we're going to repeat that process. We're going to look for that next hole. So it's not this because the yarn's above it, the hook's above that bit of yarn, and we've worked our stitch into that big hole. So it's the next hole along in there. So we're going to find our hole. There it is. Pop our hook in under our V. There we go, we have our V. Yarn over from back to front, catching our yarn, keeping it behind the hook and sliding that stitch off. We're going to go again, we're going to yarn over, back to front, and we're going to complete our stitch by taking off those last 2 loops. So there we go. Now we're going to repeat that all the way down into each of those holes and through those V's. So next hole is here. Pop our hook under our V. We're going to yarn over from back to front. We're going to take that complete stitch off. We've got our 2 loops. We're going to yarn over and we're going to take off the last 2 loops to complete our stitch. So there we go. The next one is there. Pop it into the hole under the V. There we go. We're going to yarn over from back to front, catch our yarn and slide our stitch off. Then we're going to complete the stitch by yarning over, pinch our work and sliding those loops off. And again into the next one along. So there's our hole, that one in there. Pop our hook under our V through the hole, yarn over from back to front, catching our yarn, pull through a loop. And we're going to go again, yarn over from back to front, pinch the work and complete the stitch by taking off the 2 loops. So we're going to do that all the way along through the hole, got our V there, yarn over from back to front, pull through a loop, then we're going to yarn over from back to front and take off the 2 loops. Next stitch, there's our hole there. Pop your hook through under the V like this. Yarn over from back to front, take off our stitch, we have 2 loops, yarn over from back to front and take off those 2. Next one, under there, under the V, yarn over from back to front, pull through 1, yarn over, take off our 2. And next we're going to yarn over, insert our loop hook, and insert. Right, this is our last stitch here. As you can see, we've got 1 V, so that's how we tell we've still got a complete V. We go under the V, yarn over from back to front, slide through, yarn over, slide off. So now your work should look something like this. We've got 2 rows of double crochet UK terms, single crochet American terms. So again, we've still got the V's at the top. Count our stitches. We don't count the 1 on the hook, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've still got 10 stitches. So we just, to carry on doing this, because we're doing double crochets, we chain 1 and we work all the way back down to the other side, finishing off in our 10th stitch. I hope you like my tutorial on double crochet. Coming next, how to treble UK terms from a chain.